When I was a child, our mum would ask us to open our Christmas gifts as neatly as possible. She would gently fold the paper, gather the leftover ribbon, and pop them into a storage box that I never saw, saving it for next year. And now, here I find myself in my 30s with my own little drawer full to the brim of old ribbon and used wrapping paper. Christmas means different things to different people. When I close my eyes and think about Christmas, I think of cold, dark nights, fairy lights, cups of hot chocolate that warm my fingers, woolly jumpers, cinnamon candles, and family. Family, a word that has shape-shifted in meaning over the years. I think about how much my life and relationships have changed. This will be the first Christmas I spend without my parents. I think of my elderly patients who feel quite lonely at this time. I think of people who spend time with families that force themselves to be around one another. I think of homeless people. I think of parents who feel guilty for not being able to afford gifts or a Christmas meal for their children. I think of the times I would feel my presence as a child, desperately searching for gifts that weren't clothes, with little appreciation for how much my parents tried to give us, even when they had nothing. I think of what gives me meaning. I think of light, and I think of hope. In the countdown to Christmas and the New Year, I'm reminding myself of some values that are important to me. I wanted to share a few of those with you today. Caring for our environment is a very important value of ours, and this also applies to how we celebrate Christmas. I try our hardest to minimise waste. There is a balance, of course. I'm hardly a multi-million-pound company with questionable environmental ethics, but I do hold some personal responsibility. You only need to do a quick Google search to educate yourself on how wasteful Christmas traditions can be. I have a little bag of decorations I bring out every year now. I don't buy wrapping with non-recyclable items on, like glitter, and I reuse as much as I can. I set up a little fairy light tree that we use for the rest of the year in our landing. I usually put on some baubles, which I've kept so well stored that I couldn't actually find them today. We no longer send Christmas cards. Did you know that a single tree is only enough for 176 people to send cards? And in the UK, it's estimated that 8 billion Christmas cards are sent. That is the equivalent of 264 million trees being cut down for cards that, let's be honest, will most likely end up in a bin. And that's just in the UK. Millions of animals are killed every year for Christmas, so we tried to cook more plant-based options like a nut roast, for example. We often think about how we can serve people during this time. A few years ago, we reflected on the concept of gift buying. Every year we would ask one another what we wanted for Christmas, and we would usually respond and say that we did not need or desire anything from one another. We then got thinking about why we buy gifts for others. Of course, there is nothing shameful about buying gifts, but there is always value in questioning why we do these things. It was important for us to escape the consumerist nature of these celebrations, just as I do with Mother's Day or Father's Day. Beyond gift buying being a nice gesture, we were both the kinds of people that preferred buying gifts at random throughout the year. For example, I might see something in a shop that reminded me of a friend and I would pick it up for them. Christmas presents became more of a tick box exercise. In an effort to think more mindfully about where our money went, we opted to start donating the money that we would usually spend on gifts. One year we asked our loved ones to pick a charity and donated on their behalf. We also reminded people not to feel obliged to buy us anything. Initially, I have to say I felt a little guilty for not having lots of gifts to give back, but that is easing and I'm slowly unlearning this. I know that the people around us understand why we're doing this and they don't expect anything in return. I still think about small, meaningful gifts that I can give to people, such as baking something or making simple DIY gifts, such as bookmarks or paintings. The average person in the UK will spend £602 on Christmas presents. That is almost the average weekly salary in the UK. Almost 23 million Brits plan on using credit cards to cover their Christmas spending this year. Now, depending on your background and privilege, £602 may sound like a fairly harmless amount, but I know for most people around me, even people who are earning fairly well, that in this current economic climate, it is not an insignificant amount. If you're feeling pressured into spending money, perhaps decide as an extended family to do a DIY gift year. Getting the children together and creating gifts for one another could be a far more meaningful way to spend time together, or perhaps focus your children's energy on giving back to community. Maybe they could wrap up some of their old toys that they no longer need to give to shelters. Maybe all it takes is sending a message to your close friends or family members and just saying, actually this year, please don't feel pressured into buying us anything. Could be a simple, freeing gesture, and we shouldn't feel shy or embarrassed to have these conversations openly. Now, I am not for a second suggesting that we be Grinches and stop buying children Christmas presents, but I do think reminding ourselves and the children around us and our family that we have enough is so important. Christmas this year will likely be a time for prayer and meditation for me. I am bearing witness to so much suffering in this world, and to be honest, I'm not feeling overly celebratory. I'm actually quite looking forward to a quiet one, and I'll be focusing my energy on spending time with those that I love and reflecting on what I can do to create change over the coming year. Whatever this season means to you, I hope we can feel less pressured into doing what is expected of us and more of what truly brings us joy. To those of you who might feel lonely or sad during these periods, my heart is truly with you. And to those finding new family to spend these periods with, I wish you so much luck, and I'm sending you my love. Poitevaren.